Hey everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. Look, I'm here to finish the video that I submitted earlier about Sha'Carri Richardson. I went back and realized that the end of the video was cut off, so a great deal of what I was addressing about the community and how blacks tend to handle our people and assess value to our people and live vicariously through our people was actually cut off. And so I'm just going to get back to that. I want to talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to be done with it. Like I said, this isn't an excuse for someone who is legally an adult, but to me still a baby. This isn't an excuse. This isn't giving her a pass. First and foremost, she's already accepted accountability and stated point blank that she was aware and she is not looking for sympathy. She also expressed that at the time she was going through something. She had just lost her biological mother. And anytime someone uses the term, I just lost my biological mother or father, that tells you that there is a non-traditional dynamic at play, that there's someone else that probably has taken on the primary role of that person, in this case her mother, and most likely her grandmother. And it's a common thing in the black community, but it does not change the impact that it has on a person. I wrote an article and published it this morning on the dynamic of trauma and how it plays out in our lives, and that we've normalized trauma so that we believe some of the dysfunctional behavior that we carry out over time is actually normal, is actually a part of our new norms and standards. And, you know, I'll try to remember to put a link of that article in the description box of this video. Nevertheless, she talked about it. She said it was a coping mechanism. And I just want to kind of put something in context. I followed her since she was a kid. Number one is she's from Dallas. I lived there for a while. Before I moved to Dallas, it was a place I least ever wanted to go. I couldn't stand Dallas for a number of different reasons. And I ended up having to go there, and I lived there, and I worked in the community there. Feverishly built some great relationships and have some very close friends there, and became very aware of the athletic programs there because that's another passion of mine. And so I became aware of her through somebody else that told me about her when she was in high school. Definitely followed her as a freshman at LSU and in her initial challenges as a professional when she left LSU to her triumphs now. And so, you know, I am aware of who she is beyond the glow that's going now and the challenges that are there now. I have a little bit more than just a snapshot of who she is. So I know she has beaten some odds to get where she is. And I have somebody in Houston that I consider a brother. We went to the same high school. I'm a little older than him, so we didn't attend at the same time, but we were influenced by the same people as far as teachers and coaches. And he spoke to our need to see the value in this young lady beyond the physical giftedness that she is displaying, that there's something deeper inside of her worth appreciating. And I would say that's true for every last one of us. Most of us don't get to live our lives in the illumination of celebrity, in the illumination of popularity. We normally live it within a certain circle of friends, associates, and influencers, and those we influence. But we still have that unique something about ourselves that makes us valuable. The problem is that it's often buried under frustration and trauma and past experiences and mishaps. And someone said that we should be careful not to judge this young lady's mistakes without being aware of her mishaps, the things that she's been through in life. Again, this is not an excuse for behavior. And someone came on the thread on the previous video and talked about the fact that I promoted the immorality and then started to try to explain it away. First of all, I don't see smoking weed as an immorality, personally. That's your personal assessment. That's how you feel about it. But I will say this on a sidebar. If you're going to come at me and try to correct me, at least be able to communicate beyond the 3rd or 4th grade level. Be able to at least express yourself in such a way that the point you're trying to get across is lucid. That it's easily understood and that it makes sense. You can't have 3 thoughts in one sentence and no punctuation. But on another note, that's why I don't even get on these things most of the time and respond, because you get a headache quick fooling around with people that know everything and don't know anything, but always got something to say. Now, got that out of the way. Look, she had just lost her mom. Let me put things in context for you. I met Marion about 2.5 years before we became a couple. She came to me and actually worked with me. I counseled and consulted her. It was a professional relationship, solely professional. But I knew at the time that I was counseling her that was something special about her and that I wanted her. But because we were in a professional capacity, I couldn't act on it. So we worked together for about a year. And we finished up and she went on her way. I went back to doing what I was doing, but she was on my mind. And obviously I was on hers because she came back through about a year later. And we connected. I let her know almost out of the box, hey, you are the one I want. Let's act on it. Didn't take long at all. At the time, I wasn't living in Houston, which is my native. Lived in a few places, but I wasn't in Houston. Matter of fact, I was actually in Dallas. This was during that time I was in Dallas. And so we talked about me coming down. I said, well, I'm going to come on a series of visits, see how things kind of work, and then I'll make the final move. Well, that second visit down, the day I get here, Marion's mother dies. And the whole dynamic changed because now I see her in a place that I had never saw her before, in a place of darkness and hurt, pain and confusion that I had never saw. And that was just something in me that was intent and committed to covering her. And that's what I committed to do. And nothing's changed since. And in that process, what I can tell you is, Marion had such an anxiety that she was having pain and panic attacks, and she had to see a therapist. At that time, she couldn't see me because that's conflict of interest, and it's not how you do things. It wouldn't be a good thing. But she had to see someone. She was prescribed medication, which she only took once, and decided that wasn't for her. But she worked on herself. She worked on herself hard. But that anxiety was so strong that she struggled with it for a while, and she eventually conquered it, overcame it, and she's finally gotten to a point now where the loss of her mother, while it still is a painful memory, doesn't control her moods when her mom pops up in her head. So in what you have to understand, you don't know what the dynamic is. Somebody said, well, if she wasn't close to her mom, but you don't know if she was close to her mom. You just know that her mom may not have played the primary motherly role by the way she referred to her as a biological mother, or she simply shared the role. You don't know if you haven't really gotten into it, so you don't make postulations. What I can tell you is that you don't have to have a good relationship with someone, that the loss of that person can't still have a negative impact or a massive impact on you. I'll give you a prime example even closer to home to me. I lost my dad, my biological father. I have to say that because I was reared by my great-grandparents. I lost my dad when I was 14. Never met the man a day in my life. First time I saw him was in a casket. It was years before I overcame that. Because you know why? In my heart, I always believed that at some point my dad was going to come see me and we were going to build this big relationship and this great relationship, and everything was going to be okay, all things forgiven. And then as they lowered him into the ground, when they buried him and they lowered him into the ground, they lowered every hope and dream I had for my dad with that. And I had to deal with that. Never knew him, but his death was devastating because it took my dreams with it. I had to recover, I had to deal all that. So you never know what someone's going through. With anything, you can't judge them based on where you are. And a lot of you who think you're healthy because you deal with things a certain way are simply coping through other ways that aren't healthy, and you just don't recognize it. Like I said in my article, we have gotten to a point now that we've normalized trauma, and the symptoms and fallout and consequences of trauma have been normalized to the level that we don't even recognize that we need healing. We don't recognize that we need work. And my thing is this: we really have to get to a point where we stop living vicariously through those who are in the spotlight, those who have experienced a certain level of success as we see it. So to me, her success isn't the only way you achieve success. You don't have to be famous to be successful. You don't have to have $1 million to be successful. You don't have to have the approval and approbation of the masses to be successful. Successful is the ongoing, consistent pursuit of something worthy. A worthy goal that you pursue every day and that you see progress in is success. You should be achieving success every day in your life, in your person, about what you're doing at a level that you can feel good about who you are and what you are, regardless of what the world is seeing and thinking. Let me tell you something, and I hope it's something that she's learning in this lesson right now. When you get high off the praises of people, you will crash off their criticism. That's something I learned real early in life. It's good to have people talk about how awesome you are when you're doing something great, when you are excelling beyond the point of what people expected. It's no shortage of people, sitting up and throwing out adoration and praise. It's coming and it feels good and it's great. But the problem is, if you put yourself in a position where you're getting high off of their praise, you will crash off of their criticism. I appreciate when somebody acknowledges something I do. I'm grateful and I'm appreciative, but I'm not dependent upon it. It's not where I get my joy. It's not where I get my happiness. It's not where I get my sense of fulfillment. It's not how I grade my level of success. I am not looking for the approbation or approval of anyone. Don't need it. I don't need anybody to tell me how good I am or stroke my ego. I'm so good at stroking my own ego that I can sit by myself and enjoy myself and be happy by myself and love myself without anyone's approval. I love a bunch of people, and I love some people intensively. And if I were to lose them by them walking out of my life, it would be a blow. But I would keep living. Why? Because I don't have to have it. It's good to have it, but I don't have to have it. I have a purpose, and as long as I'm walking in that purpose, I know who I am. And I'm saying all that to say this. Look, that's a 21-year-old. What she did, and the thing is, yes, the Olympics are important. Yes, that's important. But at the end of the day, Nike's already said they're not dropping her because they see the value in her beyond the Olympics and as a commodity, as an athlete. That's not even scratching the surface of who she is. There are some people that are going to look at her and see better in their future because of her. There are some people going through what she's been through that'll look at her and see hope in the future and decide life is worth living. That gives her a value far beyond anything we're going to ever see on a track. Now, the track is going to be an instrument for a while, but she's going to be of value if she can maintain, if she can keep people, you know, in her circle that will help her. I think some of the people in her circle didn't help her enough. But then again, you never know what kind of communication is going on in her circle. Communication is key. Can't hold somebody accountable for something they didn't know. And people can be very, very good at concealing things, especially young people. Here's the thing. No matter what happens, she still could run in the Olympics on a number of different contingencies. One is that the ban could be lifted for some reason. I doubt that's going to happen. But even if she stands, if the 30-day ban stands, the Olympics will still be going on, and she will be from underneath the ban in time enough to run in the 4x100. That is a decision that has not yet been made by the U.S. Track and Field Association, and they will rule on it. And the thing is, what you have to realize is this isn't about the legality or morality of marijuana, because the place where she actually smoked it is legal. So it can be legally obtained and smoked. It wasn't a crime. And so it's not on that level. It's simply on the fact that it is still a banned substance in track and field. And if you don't understand that, if you haven't run track and field, you can't, especially post high school, even collegiately. If you've run collegiately, you understand you're going to get tested. And this is the crazy thing about it, because a lot of people talking about that, is why they didn't, why they couldn't test her and get the results back, before she ran. Well, number one is these are instantaneous results. If I'm correct, I could be wrong. Things could have been changed since my day. Could have changed since my day. But what I get is that, when I remember, if you got tested at an event, you normally got tested after you ran. And so that was, normally after finals. Now it could be different, and things change, but normally that's when you get tested. So normally if you competed well and you actually qualified, if you are found to have a banned substance in your body, you could have qualified for something and never get it. Or if you medaled in an event in a final, you could lose the medal. You're gonna receive some form of a suspension. And the thing that's worth giving the context is she said, I knew the consequences. I knew that the Olympics only come once every 4 years. I knew that it was going to show up in my system. I knew that a suspension came with it when they detected it. And then yet she did it. She's worked hard to get here. The very reason you say that some people are saying she's stupid should be the very reason you're sitting up saying, what in the hell? You should be asking, what in the hell was she going through that made none of that matter at that moment? My question as I end this is simply this. Are we going to focus on the blunt and completely ignore the issues surrounding mental health? That's the question. Are we going to sit up and ignore the mental health issues and focus on the blunt and the Olympics, which at the end of the day is a small thing when you're talking about the health of an individual and the lifelong results of an individual's life? That is what you have to be concerned about. Well, I'm going to get ready to get off of here. I hope that I was able to close this thing out. I'm sorry that for some reason, I don't know how it happened, but the end of the video ended up being clipped. But I'll come back and I'll give you the version that I have in me at this time. And on that note, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. You guys have an unbelievable weekend. I'm out.